Hello and welcome to GG Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by BetMGM, where we're looking ahead to the weekend action where we have jump racing back, the first meeting back of Cheltenham, much to the delight of Dave Young in the background, of course. But we also have Doncaster with the Group 1 Futurity and Newbury. We're not entirely sure if we're going to get Saturday's cards. So we're going to briefly run through the races that are on the ITV televised schedule, just in case they do go ahead. But of course, a lot of our focus is going to be on Cheltenham and Doncaster. And as I say, I'm going to be previewing these races in the company of Dave Young and Andrew Mount, who is suitably attired for the start of the National Hunt season, as you'll see in just a second, because we're going to begin at Newbury with the Group 3 Horace Hill Stakes for the 2-year-olds over 7 furlongs at 12.55. A pretty open contest. Blue Lemons heading the way at 100 to 30. But Andrew, which of these will cope with conditions best?
Blue Lemons shouldn't have any problems with them, having finished close up third over a mile here on soft ground last time after making the running, but he was staying on again at the finish that day after being headed, so the cut back to 7 is a slight concern. I thought he'd run this race, but I'd rather split stakes between the two Knight of Thunders, more towards the bottom of the race card, Telemark and 10 Bob Tony. I do love Knight of Thunder. You make a profit backing them blind on good to soft or softer going, and both have won last time out impressively on soft ground. And if in the unlikely event Newbury does go ahead, it's going to take some getting. I think both Telemark and 10 Bob Tony could be the way to go.
Telemark and 10 Bob Tony. 10 Bob Tony is the 17-2 and Telemark 10-1 is the outsider of the field. Knight of Thunder, my absolute favourite sire, so I'm over the moon with that. Okay, on to the jumpers now. Finally, I hear calls from the back as we kickstart with a handicap chase for 4-year-olds and over 2 miles at 1:15. Speedy chases for you to go out here, Dave. So who wins this?
Oh, it's so good to be back in it. I've even changed the background. I've started to get the Cheltenham apparel out. I thought I'd sort of level up the show a little bit by putting a shirt on. And Andrew's absolutely outsmashed me. So fair play to Andrew.
Well, I fell into the dressing up box this morning and came out looking like this.
Well, you're looking good, but also looking good is this opener at Cheltenham, right? We've got, I think on Friday, there's maybe 5 horses rated in excess of 135. This race alone's got 4 on the Saturday. So we're kicking off in class. It's been a good race in previous years as well. I just want to name check a few horses that have previously won this. Willie Mullins won it last year with Dad's Lad. That I'm just going to mention their running style as well, because 2-mile handicap chases, loads of people will tell you you want to be on the front end, which is kind of true. I did some analysis on this a while back. It's price driven as well. So the ones that are prominently ridden are well found in the market. But just to do this, right, so Dad's Lad won it last year with In Rear, but in touch with the leaders. Before Midnight won it before that, Maydall. Rouge Vif, chased clear leader, but led 5 out. St. Calvados with mid-division. Modus was held up, but in touch. Foxtel Hill, already mentioned him prior to the show. He did make all. Fox Norton, go on Fox Norton, mid-division. And then Boone Doomer, that led to the 6th and prominent. So lots of them are up towards the front of it, but it's not completely and utterly essential. This time round, I think I probably do like some horses that are going to be up towards the front, right? So Haddock de Zobo, he's only a 6-year-old, but from October 2021 to now, he's climbed 26 pounds from 120 rated to 146. And I don't think that is his ceiling yet. He goes on anything, can run quite keen, but in this depth of field, I think the keenness will be fine. Like, it's quality I've already touched on. They will be going a fair clip. It would be hard for a horse to be really keen in a race like this, I suspect. I think it would just be like a settling pace for him. He absolutely broke the field the last time he ran as well. He had 3 horses in behind. The closest rival was 19 lengths behind. Every single one of those won next time out in a handicap. 2 of those horses that were behind was 3rd time lucky, and Bundoran. Let's get another name drop in there. Good old Bundoran. But they all won their handicap chase next time out. So while he did smash them apart, won by a distance, you could potentially try and poke holes in it. I don't know how you really can. Even the race prior to that, he had That's All Right Gino 15 lengths back and forth. That horse is 11 pounds higher now, albeit he's improved when he run over a little bit further. So I am making a bit of a case here for the favourite, but I do think he definitely deserves to be favourite. He's one that I've landed on as the winner for this. One other horse I do want to give a quick mention to, though, is Guy. I love this horse. I have a proper soft spot for him. I think he jumps like the definition of a jumper. Like, he's a good horse, can make a little bit of a mistake, but seems to sort himself out. Like, if you ever wanted to buy a horse that jumps, just watch Guy, as far as I'm concerned. Sam Twiston Davies will want to go on with this horse as well. So him and Jamie Moore will probably battling out the front. I think these two having a bit of company rather than lighting each other up will actually suit each other. He was second off a £2 higher mark in a Class 2 this time last year, Guy. His record in October over fences reads 1-2-2-1. Now, that record is normally fresh. He's already had a run this season. There's a £5 rise from that win a few weeks ago, but I think that looks manageable, and the quick turnaround I only see as a positive. So I do think Haddock DeZobo is going to win this. I think he's got more to improve out of him. He's 6 versus the 8-year-old Guy, but I just wanted to give a mention to Guy because it's jumps racing and let's name as many horses as possible.
Get as many names out there. The fact that Foxtel Hill, Fox Norton, and Bundoran have all got a name mentioned. We know that the jump season is properly back. Guy is at 7-1, but the main play though, Haddock DeZobo 11-4 at the head of the market. Andrew.
Yeah, very strong stat associated with this race. 7 of the 8 winners were young horses, 8 or younger, who were reappearing after a break of at least 150 days and who contested a Class 1 or 2 race last time out. Now, it's 7 winners from 21 runners. You'd have missed out last year. That was the only blank year when you'd have had the 3rd and 4th from 2 qualifiers and a profit of £16.50. Now, if you split those by running style, which Dave's already touched on, those who made the running 3 from 4, 2 from 5 for the ones who are prominent, and only 2 from 12 for the hold-up horses. So if you can find, say, a young horse, seasonal debut, running a good race last time out, you're on the right track. I mean, Haddock DeZobo for Gary Moore, 3 wins and an unseated rider from 4 runs left-handed in Britain. He's going to go well. Does he need it muddier than it's going to be? It's good for soft, good in places. So keep an eye on what happens on Friday in terms of the race times and whether there's any more rain. So I'd like to see some more rain for him. Guy, I never thought Guy would be on a hat trick without 2 walkovers. I mean, he's an absolute filth merchant. I mean, he snatched defeat from the jaws of victory on so many occasions, and he's my staple for Tote Exactors to finish second to the other principals in the race. And I did a few quid when he won last time out, but that was 4 runners at Fontwell, and the second favourite has underperformed, made a complete haulix at the first and just never going at any stage basically. So put Guy in your forecasts to finish second, and trifectas as well, with anything else to finish first or third. I think he'll run well, but he'll run well without winning. Before midnight, I thought as a 10-year-old was up against it. Red Rookie's never won before the new year, might need the run. Also prefers soft or heavy going. I thought Triple Trade might need the run. The one I was looking at was Notlongtillmay, second at 40-1 in the Turners when we last saw him. And he comes here instead of the old Rowan Chase at Aintree on Sunday, which he was already also entered in. And I mean, Laura Morgan, you back her Chases blind, you make a good profit over the years. I like the Sire on sort of good to soft or soft to going, so a bit more rain won't hinder. I thought that the prices could be the value, but yeah, Haddock DeZobo, Notlongtillmay with the 2 I was looking at. I'll go Notlongtillmay, the big price, and I will be doing those exactas Guy to finish second.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Guy to finish second. Like you say, he was just that menace, wasn't he? Where he just couldn't get the job done. And now the fact that he's bidding for a hat trick here, it's like he's done a whole sort of role reversal around. But perhaps he'll finish second again. I'm with you with Notlongtillmay. When you were running through the trends for this race, I was just thinking, yep. Last time for seasonal reappearance, running off of top weight and not a vintage renewal of this race, and the fact that he finished second last time out in the Class 1, I was thinking like, yep, the whole way through. Are we definitely sure he's going here instead of the old Rowan on Sunday? Because I know he's dropped up with Adam Wedge, and he's not then obviously at Aintree yet, but we'll only get decks for that tomorrow. So I listened to Laura Morgan earlier on in the week, won't mention the podcast, and she was saying that Cheltenham looks easier, but that a flatter track might just see him to a better effect. So not entirely sure which way he's going to go yet, but at least Adam Wedge is jocked up here. And if he does run, I agree with you, Andrew, where I'm hoping that Notlongtillmay can put his class to the 4. Right, back to Newbury now for the Group 3 St. Simon Stakes for the 3-year-olds and over a mile 4 at 1:30. And one horse we know that will love testing conditions is Hamish, aka Hamish, Darryl Carter, who heads the betting. But Andrew, who wins it?
Yeah, I like this race. I mean, there's short skirt winner of the St. Simon Stakes many years ago behind me. So Max Vega. Max Vega loves it muddy, absolutely useless in June, July and August. You can put a line through his runs in those months. He goes well in the spring, he goes well in the autumn, ideally on deep ground. So I tipped him up when he won the race last year. He was placed in it the year before, and he can't have it deep enough. And so he beat Hamish by a head, went 22-1 for this race last year. And I know he was well beaten last time out, but that was in Group 2 company in France on suitably quick ground. And yeah, if it does go ahead, I think he's a great bet. So Max Vega for me.
Yeah, he's done you a turn before, hasn't he? And really good style at a nice price. So Max Vega currently 10-1 at Newbury, should that meeting go ahead. Right, back to Cheltenham now for the 4-year-olds. It's the Masterson Holdings hurdle for the 4-year-olds over 2 miles at 150. But plenty of experience on offer here all the same, Dave. So who wins this one?
Yeah, this is like typically a race that I love at the start of the season, right? I like the juveniles from the previous year. Sometimes we get some Irish horses that come over. And again, when I run through some names, there's been some absolute legendary winners in here. Tiger Roll won this race. Dodging Bullet. Pied Piper won it last year. I Like to Move. It's won it. So Royals won it. And this time round, the highest rated horse in the race is 138. So it is a lackluster renewal. Previously, there's normally loads of horses in the 130s. We've only got one this time round. And there's normally horses that are in the 140s as well. So it still looks an okay-ish race, but I don't know, it's not as exciting as it potentially could have been. Saying that, though, of the British juveniles, Bo Zenith that ran second at Aintree is probably the only British runner that could have run in here that's missing, 138 rated as well. So I think it just shows the sort of crop that we've got. So I mentioned some of those names that have won it in the past. I'm not sure we've got any of those standard of horses in here. So this would be maybe a good opportunity for the lower class horse to pick something up. Blue King Daru is a horse that was 6-4 favourite for a grade 2 here when he ran first time for Paul Nicholls and was woeful. I sort of liked the concept of the horse, liked the profile of him, didn't like the price of 6-4. And when he pulled up, I was very disappointed. I think he went to Taunton after, was woeful then again. So sort of put a line through the horse. Then we see him pop up at 50-1, first time in a handicap, off a mark of 127. So it's a bit absurd to consider a horse that was that short a price for a grade 2, went off at 50-1 off a 127. But he was second 12 days later at Aintree. He's now 138 rated, and you've got to think that run coming so quick after the win, there must be more left in him. So I think he's a worthy favourite. I think he's the most likely winner of this race. He's the only hope we've got of a horse that could be a future worldie. But you've got to be happy to accept the fact that he flopped at Cheltenham before, backed him at a similarly short price, albeit a weaker race. So I don't think I can actually bet him. Spirit Danu, that's the closest to him in the ratings and in the market, is a back-to-back handicap winner, but I don't believe there's any substance in the form of what that horse has done. So I wouldn't want to be taking anything on. There are 9 runners, so I was trying to see if I could find a bit of an each-way horse in here. But the only one that's worth a mention, I think, is Lucinda Russell's Boy Gilbert. It's been running in Class 4s, won 3 of those, travels like a horse, though, that wants to be running in better company. So this is probably the right amount of a step up for him. If it had been 140 horses in him, he may have struggled to go with them. But he looks capable of running much better than his mark of 121. They could potentially exploit that later in the season in a handicap. But in here, I think he's only probably got to improve about half a stone to be the next best horse in the race. And if Blue King Daru was one to just flop because it's Cheltenham again, then maybe Boy Gilbert at a price is one to potentially take him on with. But it would unfortunately be a no bet in this race. So I've waffled for a while, but I got to mention Tiger Roll, so happy days.
So happy days, we all win therefore. Yeah, a no bet race for you at Cheltenham on the first Saturday back. I mean, that takes a lot of inner strength in itself. Very responsible gambling. We always try and preach, and Dave has just exemplified that himself. Andrew, 4-year-olds here.
Yeah, I started off looking at the outsiders, trying to find an each-way angle, and couldn't really sort of settle on one that I was confident in. Kept coming back to the favourite, really. But, the fact that, as Dave said, he went off such a short price for that Grade 2 contest on his British debut when pulling up, ran a shocker next time at Taunton, went 11-8 favourite, and basically he's obviously had wind issues. He had a wind operation, came back, won that handicap at 50-1, followed up with that. Good second at Aintree. Now that Aintree handicap hurdle, it was set up for the closers, and I thought the second and third did really well to finish where they did under prominent rides that day. That includes Blue King Daru as well, and I thought he's set for a good season. I thought he'd take this before going on to better things.
Okay, before he goes on to bigger and better things, 6-4, then heading the way and certainly heading the official ratings as well. Okay, the feature on Saturday now. This is the Group 1 Cameco Futurity Trophy Stakes for the 2-year-olds over a mile at 210. Whereas Charlie Appleby versus Aidan O'Brien at the head of the market, but in the testing conditions, it has been interesting to see that Ancient Wisdom now is heading the market. So, Andrew, who wins the futurity?
Yeah, cracking race this. Worth mentioning the draw though, which can have a big impact in this race, even when there's only sort of 8 runners. I've seen, sort of horses end up in the slop on one side or the other and sort of run shoppers and then bounce back to win group races at the first time of asking next season. So do keep an eye on the earlier races to see if there's an obviously strong bias. The one I was looking at might be well drawn in store 1 is Red Hot Whisper. Son of Too Darn Hot for Roger Brookhouse. Now Too Darn Hot because himself loved the mud, and we had Charlie Appleby trained Too Darn Hot winner in the soft ground at Newmarket on Thursday this week. And this one ran a good race on debut on good to firm ground at Leicester, which wouldn't have suited. It was very green. Ducked to his right on the start. A real eye catcher according to the Racing Post, was 3rd at 18-1. Next time out, he's won over course and distance. Run up against God's Window, who reopposes here. The Gosden's runner finished 2nd by 3/4 of a length on soft ground. Drawn wide of the winner that day. The winner came out of 2. He was in 9. So I'm backing all Too Darn Hot's blind on soft and heavy going at the moment. It's been a good angle from an albeit small sample size. I think Red Hot Whisper could outrun his odds here. The other obvious one is Dancing Gemini, who's probably a bigger price than he should be, although I think he's just been nibbled out in the last hour or so. Trained by Roger Peel. He ran in that Brazilian race because at Ascot, the listed contest, has worked out incredibly well. Ancient Wisdom was favourite for that, finished almost 5 lengths back in 3rd. Dancing Gemini was almost another 10 lengths back in 5th. But that was quite a tough ask on his second start. He was 33-1. He's gone 2 from 2 since, including very impressively over 7 furlongs on soft ground at Doncaster next time out. So, given the course form of Red Hot Whisper and Dancing Gemini, I'll take that pair against the favourite.
Taking on then the favourites. Dancing Gemini is now a 9-2 shot, and Red Hot Whisper for the Red Hot Brookhouse yard, who can do no wrong at present on flat or over jumps, 33-1, which is a bit of a difference in pricing considering that form with God's Window. Dave, the futurity, please.
Yeah, this is a really, really good looking race. I've got a big difference of opinion with Andrew on Dancing Gemini, though, because I think that horse is much shorter than it should be. Again, through that line of that Brazilian one, the 10 lengths that it was behind me, and that was over like 7, wasn't it, as well? I think Dancing Gemini is plenty short enough. I know it's been improved since, but Ancient Wisdom's improved since. My nap 2 weeks ago, after time alert, ring the bell. But he was, as far as I was concerned, the Group 1 horse in a Group 3 back then. This is a Group 1, isn't it? Diego Valaquez was weak on the exchange a few days ago, so we touched on the ground there. His participation, for me, I don't even definitely know if he's going to run. They might want to see if the ground dries out. I'm sure they probably will run him. But I think Ancient Wisdom just did everything right the last day to suggest that he is the best horse in the race. He impressed me more than I thought he'd win, right? I thought he would win. There wasn't that much support behind him. When we tipped him up on the Thursday, he was a 2-1 poke. He went off at 2-1. So to go and do what he did, not really saying the yard were like a punting stable, but there wasn't a massive weight of money behind him to suggest that he was going to do what he did. I reckon there potentially is more to come. He doesn't even need to do anymore. So I think Ancient Wisdom's a fairly good thing in this. It is a step up in class, but I think he's definitely good enough to do it. So Ancient Wisdom in the Futurity Stakes.
Oh, you're sticking with your winning nap, and I'm going to put the mockers on him for you as well, Dave, just to help, because I think he's going to take all the beating as well at 7-4 in this, where we know that he'll likely deal with conditions best of all as well. He was catching so many eyes on his debut, despite James Doyle dropping a stick on him on that debut start. Then to follow up under a penalty, and on the face of it, as you said, it looked disappointing at Ascot when he failed as favourite in that listed race. But when you look that he finished behind Brazilian, who got back to winning ways last time out in the Group 1 pre-Jean-Luc Lagardère. The 6th was Sunway, who got back to winning ways in the Group 1 Criterium International. The 4th and 5th have won listed level or above since, and after a break, then that was a super impressive reappearance, I thought, last time out in the Autumn Stakes. And with the knee action on him, conditions should be absolutely fine for him. It is a pretty quick turnaround for him of 14 days, but you just said, I mean, Dancing Gemini has about 10 lengths to find with Ancient Wisdom. Yes, he's improved himself, but as has Ancient Wisdom, I feel, from last time out. So we are both with him in the Group 1 Pertemps, not Pertemps, no longer sponsored by Pertemps. Definitely not. Cameco Futurity Trophy Stakes up at Doncaster as the feature. Right, 225 at Cheltenham now. A handicap chase for the 4-year-olds and over 3 mile 1. Wide open. Dave, 11-2 the field. Quick Draw as the favourite. What's the play, please?
So Quick Draw, just will tap him off straight away, is a bad favourite in here. But admittedly, he's an 11-2 favourite, so it's not like I'm saying he's a real short chance, is he? It's 1-5 that he doesn't win the race, so it's not that outlandish to say it. Since the time of writing, though, the 2 horses that I'm going to mention have both been significantly trimmed in. That does may not necessarily change the way that I'm going to play things. I'll still be putting 2 horses up in this race, but it is just key to pay attention to the fact that this is a race that's been priced up early. People will be getting excited. It is a handicap. There's going to be all sorts of price moves and all that sort of stuff. So no one will be getting best odds guaranteed until the day. Some of these bets may be worth waiting for. Like I said, the selections aren't going to change. Anyway, back to why Quick Draw is a bad favourite. He beat nothing for me the last day, right? The third was trounced the same distance in his race prior, and the second has a horrendous record first time up, or a really good one if you want to lay him. He was beaten 21 lengths by Quick Draw, but on his previous first time runs was beaten 43 lengths, 27, 15 and 11. So I don't think Quick Draw beat anything. I think Quick Draw is a bad favourite. The Irish runners were going to get the first mention on my list, but because you mentioned the favourite, I've gone in a reverse order. But Mr. Fog Patches ran him in the December meeting a couple of years ago. I actually backed him that day when Commodore for Venetia Williams was a runaway winner, really impressive. But Mr. Fog Patches was a bit of an eye catcher in behind. He then went on the same season to run in the Kim where he was 6th under Patrick Mullins. That feels a bit like the ceiling of what that horse could have achieved, though. And I don't think he's in any sort of form now to suggest him. But he is a 20-1 poke. Danny Mullins is riding, so if there's any support behind him, for a horse that jumps right, he's run incredibly well around Cheltenham. So he's worth a mention. Am I right? The other Irish runner, and this is one of the ones I will be putting up that has been supported, was sent off 11-2 favourite for the Irish Grand National, where he was pulled up after never travelling. This horse is the absolute opposite of Guy. This is, you watch a horse and say, what I don't want you to do in jumping, that is what Am I Right does. But for what he's achieved, considering he can't actually get over the side of the fence, he's got so much untapped potential. He was entered in the Brown Advisory, didn't run. Like I say, we're sort of 11-2 favourite for an Irish National. That's no mean feat to be able to be priced that short. But the horse is under Rachel Blackmore. I do think with Henry de Bromhead, right, he will always improve a horse for fences. It may just take a little bit longer for Am I Right to do that. I think this horse has got a proper chance, so I can see why he's been supported. Lord Accord did take this race 12 months ago for £1 lower mark, so you've got to give him a mention. His prep run this year was £10 lower on RPRs. I mean, we are using RPRs, so it's a bit loose, but it is worth mentioning. We've touched on the ground a little bit. I've been told that it's going to be good ground for Friday. There isn't that much rain about. I don't think the clerk of the course is going to be watering, so he does need good ground to run his best Lord Accord, but we'll see how the racing goes on Friday to how that goes. The other one I need to mention that I want to bet is under supervision. So similar to Am I Right, you would not look at this horse and say, wow, he jumps the fence lovely. He makes all sorts of mistakes, but I think he's pretty consistent, the same as Am I Right, to have achieved what he's achieved, given the fact that he doesn't jump that well. His first one over fences was at Cheltenham, where he was beaten by Does He Know, but he ran through the tape, basically ran out when he was supposed to win that day. So that's always a good quirk, isn't it? He's also runs 6-length thirds to Karat's Rambler when he was giving him £2. We know what Karat's Rambler's gone and done. He's £25 higher now. And there's been a couple of races with this horse. I think it was behind, I haven't written on my notes, behind Eva's Oscar, maybe. It was behind a horse at Cheltenham where basically under supervision with eye catching from the second last, was about 10 lengths behind, absolutely hashed the second last fence, but then still went on to make 4 or 5 lengths up to the run-in. So this horse for me is fairly gutsy. He's consistent in terms of what he's ratings wise and what he's actually done. However, he's quite inconsistent in terms of how he throws these races together. So he's a little bit punty, but he is miles better than his mark. He does like it round Cheltenham, and one of these days he's going to absolutely sluice up. So I'm going to, it's not even playing it safe because they can't jump, but I'm playing it safe by putting up 2 selections, under supervision and Am I Right. I will back the pair of them, even though they both failed to finish last time out.
Oh, taking a bit of a punt then, 7-1 about under supervision. I mean, Benign Twisted Yard continuing to go great guns. And how nice would that be as well for Anne-Marie and Jamie Shepherd after their loss of I Like to Move It a few weeks back? And am I right? 15-2. Hopefully he can jump better than he has done in the past. Andrew, 3 more 1 handicap chase, please.
Yeah, wonderful race this. Like Dave, I'm against Quick Draw. I don't think this will be favourite on the day because he's best right-handed and he's going left-handed. In fact, half the field of this race seemed best right-handed. Lord Accord's got a good record in the early months of the season, September to December, 5 wins from 11 starts, 5 from 9 below Class 1 level. As Dave said, he won this race last year. One of those wins, although you look at the form book, it looks like he needs sort of good ground, but one of them, according to race times, was actually on soft going, so I'm not massively concerned about the ground. Under supervision, I don't like. He's a small field merchant, in my opinion. He needs a field of 7 or fewer runners. When he doesn't get it, he makes mistakes. He gets hampered. I think he's a candidate for finding trouble and perhaps not finishing in the first 3. Twig, I quite liked. He's progressive, albeit at a lower level. The other ones I was looking at, wasn't sure about Kinondo Kwetu on the ground. Same with Brief Times, thought both might like it. Different to what we can expect. The Wolf is another small field merchant. Fields of 7 or fewer runners is vital for him. He might stay on once the field thins out in the latter stages and sort of, grab 4th or something like that. Whacker Clown was one I thought was best right-handed. I was half interested in Wayfinder, first run after the wind up. Needs generally good or faster going. Last 4 wins have come at Chepstow, so I thought it was quite interesting that after the wind up, they're coming here rather than running at Chepstow. Hidden Heroics, another best right-handed. And the one I'm going to put up as a sporting bet is Swapped for the Pogstons. Prominent running style. Probably did 2, so switched from Nicky Henderson to a small yard and then absolutely bolted up at Southwell first time. Went to the same track next time out, did too much too soon, got taken on for the lead, and although starting favourite was vulnerable to Snipe of Dan Skelton's. And I just thought Swapped might give you a run for your money at 33-1 each way. It was a really good race to watch. I mean, the Lord Accord is probably best of those at the head of the market, followed by Twig, but I'll just go 50p each way on Swapped.
The 33-1 outside of Swap who's appreciated the Sable Swap. So aptly named as we head back to Doncaster for the listed prospect stakes for the 2-year-olds over 6 furlongs at 2:45. So more 2-year-olds for you to analyse here, Andrew. Who wins this one?
Yeah, this is a tricky old one as well. What was I looking at? I was looking at Ballymount Boy. Difficult. Has he had enough for the season, or do we sort of judge him on that Goodwood second to Van Dijk? Subsequent Group 1 winner. He was 25-1 that day. Got beaten a length on very soft ground over 6 furlongs. Since then, he's run twice over 7, keeping on to second at York, behind Indian Run on Good to Firm, and then finishing well behind Rosalie in France on quickish ground at Longchamp. So coming back to 6 in the mud. James Doyle is riding extremely well at the moment. Perhaps I'll just go Ballymount Boy. But it wasn't a race that I was sort of massively confident on, to be perfectly honest. So if Dave's got anything more concrete, I'll happily go with his.
Dave, for you?
So yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be like the greatest race of the day, but from a betting perspective, I really struggled to like suitably differentiate between Esquire and Ballymount Boy. The little different profiles coming in, aren't they? Ballymount Boy, as Andrew said, we're using that Van Dijk line at Goodwood, where Van Dijk was like miles ahead, even though he's only been beaten a length, but was like a much classy horse. But this is a big drop back in class. This is a listed race. He's been running in group races, Ballymount Boy, and everything that he's done, you would suggest that he's at least as good as Esquire. And like we say, the conditions of ground coming back to 6 furlongs, I think, will suit him as well. So he's got every chance of winning this. He's a top price 3-1 at the time of recording. Esquire ran really well behind Puro Sangue. We get to give a little mention to that name as well. But I do, and like, it's only had 2 runs, right? Potential on the upward curve. But I do think if we're talking about Esquire in this particular race, would have been beating Puro Sangue if I wanted to be confident. But Esquire's an 11-4 poke. If I start to look at anything else in the race, I cannot make any possible case that anything else gets within lengths of the front 2. So I couldn't really split between the 2 of them. If I was having a bet in the race, I would be very tempted to just back both at 3-1. I mean, 11-4 is Esquire. It pays even money, but I do not see anything else possibly winning it. So that would be the way that I'd play it. I mean, it's a bad like race for like getting confident of either of the two, but I cannot see anything other than one of them two winning it. So it would be sort of like a no bet race. But if someone wants an interest, I'd be just say safely play the pair at an even money poke.
Yeah, that's the way to play it then. So at least we're giving different options for way to place to play that listed race up at Doncaster. Now it's the P word. It's back again, which you know that the National Hunt season is very much back in full working order when we have a Pertemps qualifier. So Dave, we're still down to the first 4 places. So who finishes 4th in this one, please, at Cheltenham at 3 o'clock?
4th is Bugs Moran. I'll be able to tell you come 2nd and 3rd as well. I think I know who wins it too. So this is like a really decent version of this race. Right, we've got the max 20 runners. Obviously, the Pertemps qualifiers have changed from 6 to 4. There's sort of less options in Ireland as well, which is good because that means we get to see Willie Mullins and Paul Townend riding. We've got Jordan Gainford over for Gordon Elliott. So there's lots of horses that are worth mentioning. But with a race such as this, we are focusing on potentially qualifiers. However, I like to look in the race and think, in the midst of all of that, is there a horse in here that's going to capitalise on that, knowing that not necessarily horses in here that they could always beat, but they might not be trying as much. So we could find something at a price. So I can make a case for something at a price. Before I do that, we'll just skim through a couple of those ones that I've mentioned. So the Willie Mullins runner will have Wham. Under Paul Townend was 8 to 11 favourite in a handicap. So regular viewers and regular punters will know it's not often you see an odds-on poke at a handicap. He was really quirky. So go back and watch that race because it's an interesting type of one. The last time I remember an odds-on handicap hurdler for Willie Mullins, there's probably been plenty, but it was when Total Recall ran back over hurdles after he was going in like a Hennessy. So occasionally Willie Mullins does have his class horses, but occasionally he gets these little low-ranked horses that come on leaps and bounds. But he's well found in the market. I wouldn't be interested in him. The Gordon Elliott Gainford one is Ring Dufferin. Again, wouldn't be interested in him. Noel Mead sends Bugs Moran. I'm reliably informed this horse will qualify, won't run for the rest of the season, and then he'll probably dot up in March. So mark my word so that we can crop that. Paul Nichols is sending Hugo's new horse in here as well for his first start of the season. That looks quite good. Nico de Boinville and Nicky Henderson are sending Highland. So we've got all the top class stuff, but I'm not interested in the front end of the market. I need to give a quick mention to American Sniper, who didn't race as I expected in the Silver Trophy. They held him back. It might be that it's trial and error for this horse now, but they entered him in a 3-mile race last season where he didn't run. He's only 5. He's got much more ability than his mark. He's a 40 to 1 poke. That's way too big. I will be having a nibble on him on the exchanges. I think he's got a bit of a chance. And he might be the type of horse that instead of qualifying for this, might be looking to take advantage of the race. But the one I'm going to make a case for, and I actually fancy him quite a bit, is Rock My Way for Sid Hosey. And he's another one that is probably too big a price. He was 33 when I was writing this up. He's 25 now, but I think that's just because they've revised the markets. Hopefully we'll be getting 25 to 1 plus on this horse. So 12 months ago, he was still running in point to points. Went to Sid Hosey, joined him, and then he had 4 runs at the beginning of this year, sorry. Ran at January behind We've All Been Caught. That was in a decent race. He was a 66 to 1 poke that day, but massively outran his odds. Then on trials day, he came here and won the Grade 2 novices hurdle, so proves that he can win it. And he continued to race exclusively at Cheltenham as well. So he had 2 spins after that, sort of petering off a little bit. But like I say, he was running in points last October. Normally when a pointer joins a yard, they have a bit of a break with them. I think that was maybe a bit of a fact-finding mission for the horse last season. And it was just a case of let's see what we've got. He did run in the Albert Bartlett where he was pulled up, but Affordale Fury, he was pulled up behind him in his point as well. So nothing's changed there. Like, I just think he didn't run terribly bad on that day. It's just an expectation thing. Remember, this horse is rated 135, running in an Albert Bartlett, even though it's the weaker of all the novices races, you're not going to be winning off of 135. He's 5, about to turn 6. He's had that summer with Sid Hosey. You'd think at some point they're going to send him chasing, but I just wonder now whether they think he's done so much over hurdles. He's 135. He is only 5. Maybe let's wait a season before we send him over fences, and potentially let's get him qualified for the Pertemps final, or better still, let's go and pick up some handicaps and pick up some prize money. I think this is worth 30,000 to the winner. I think this horse wants the trip of 3 miles. I think the Sid Hosey having a summer with this horse would have been a massive bonus to him. I think he's got a proper chance. It may be that this is a run to go over fences. We see that quite often with horses. I don't know why he'd send him into a Pertemps qualifier to do that, though. So if this horse flops and then goes in a like novice handicap chase next time out, maybe they were trying to get his mark down. But I think they're here trying with Rock My Way. And I think at 25 to 1 or bigger, he's a stupid price. And I think Rock My Way probably can win this race.
He has been readily dismissed, hasn't he? 25-1 then for a big play for Dave. Andrew, you've got a good record in these Pertemps qualifiers of who actually wants to win it. So who wants to win this one?
Yeah, Kansas City Chief. I assume he's running.
Yeah.
Is he about 15 now? Yeah, sadly he's not running this year. But yeah, the reason for tipping that one a couple of years ago was that, you know, probably wouldn't be interested, worried about qualifying. A small yard would be quite happy to win this race. Prize money is terrible, isn't it? 10 years ago, this is worth 12.5 grand. It's worth 13 grand now. That's pretty dire, really, for you know, a Class 2 televised race on a Saturday. Yeah, Bucks Moran, I had sort of information for this one prior to his comeback run when he was a close-up second at Galway. Sadly, only bet him to win, not each way. And next time out, he should have won really at this stall, I thought, because he went round the swamp route on the inside rail. If you watch the replay of that race, it was very hard to win round the inside that day, and he was always there until the very late stage, and he got done by Goldspeed, who came wider. I thought that was a good run in the circumstances. So I'd certainly want him, you know, in my place pass, or you know, sort of backing him each way, perhaps. But the other Judicial Law I was looking at, he was a winner in the first-time cheek pieces for John Joe O'Neill last time out. He's got a good record with first-time cheek piece winners bidding to follow up when wearing the same headgear. And he's a fame and glory as well, and I think he's done well to win so often as a 6-year-old, because the size progeny tend to get better with age. You can back all the 8 and 9-year-olds to make a good profit. That's one angle I'm looking at this jump season, to you know, try and back some of those to improve on what they've shown previously. And the others I was looking at, so Rock My Way was interesting. He does tend to go out to his right, but he's still run well and won here at Cheltenham. I think the key to him is him coming late round the outside and getting on that near side rail, which, you know, maybe where the better ground is. So I certainly won't put you off him. Espoir de Rome, first run after a wind off. He's won after one before. He's a little quirky so-and-so, but with Kim Bailey going well, he might run a good race. And the one I'm going to go for, though, is Spike Jones each way. First run after a wind up, small yard, trained by Sam Drinkwater. And yeah, I just thought, yeah, he could, he's 20s into 18s, I think, but I just thought, you know, they'd be quite happy to win this race and not be too worried about just messing about, fiddling around, trying to qualify and without winning. So, yeah, Spike Jones each way in a typically tricky to say and tricky to win Pertemps qualifier.
Yeah, tricky all round, aren't they? These Pertemps qualifiers. At Spike Jones 18-1 already, like I say, been nibbled in just on 20-1 there this morning. Now our final scheduled race, we head back to Doncaster for a 0-105 handicap for 3-year-olds and over 5 furlongs at 320. Another open contest here. So Andrew, what's the play in this one, please?
Yeah, I was hoping to narrow this down with the draw, starting with those drawn low, which has been a good angle at Doncaster in sprints recently. Call Me Ginger Store one, I thought, has got off the boil now and probably needs it quicker. Desperate Hero, I like, winner of 2 of his last 3. Jack Shannon trained, Russell Ryan's running really well at the moment. You can back Grant Chewer's fillies, mares in handicaps and make a profit. Glorious Angel from stall 3 had a good chance. And Vintage Clarence is hard to fault, having won at Catterick last week and is on a hat-trick. And if you watch the replay of that Catterick race, I think everyone thought Vintage Clarence had finished second, but after trading in a big price in the photo, got the race. So it's sort of Desperate Hero, Glorious Angel, Vintage Clarence, stalls 2, 3 and 4. I'll go Desperate Hero rather than tip up 2 or more in the race.
Desperate Hero 7-1 shot in here for Andrew Dave.
Yeah, it's a very tricky looking getting out stakes, I think, and this is, I would imagine, the type of race, if you ran it 5 or 6 times, you would get 5 or 6 different results. But let's hope that this time round for Intrinsic Bond with Oisin Murphy booked, that paid dividends this time round. Like we sent off 4-1 favourite the last time that Oisin was booked on. That was back at York in a Heritage Handicap, Symphony Group Handicap race. But the time after, when he wasn't fancied, an 18-1 point was half a length behind Anaf, over 5.5 furlongs at Doncaster on soft ground. So I think that the ground's probably not going to be a problem for the horse. It's won on soft before, it's run well on heavy before. Mixed fortunes at Doncaster, but that run this season to show that he's handled the track and was only beaten half a length, good enough for me. He's 8-1 at the time of recording. I think that's a fair enough price. And I do think that they were obviously trying at York. He was well fancied, just didn't come off. Seems like now they've waited to book to get Oisin back on board again, and they're probably going to fancy him again. So I suspect he'll be supported. So intrinsic bond for me.
8-1 at the time of recording for intrinsic bond for Dave. Right, Dave, I'll go back to you, please, for anything from anywhere else that you might just have for us. Friday, Saturday, the weekend, whenever. It's up to you.
I mean, I can get. I'm like reluctant to give it out because I think I'm adamant it's going to win, but I want to hold on to the price for a little bit. But seeing as the viewers deserve some good tipping for this week, in the 5:05 at Cheltenham on Friday, I mean, it could be first or last, but Angel's Breath is a 9-1 shot. This horse has only had 4 spins over hurdles. There's no potential improver in here as far as I'm concerned. Elogio is the only one that could prove differently for that, but I don't think that horse is 100% genuine. Angel's Breath will win the last on Friday at Cheltenham and is currently available at 9-1. So get stuck into Angel's Breath, but obviously gamble responsibly.
Yeah.
Nicely done at the end.
Have your absolute cobblers on it and remortgage your house and but gamble responsibly.
To be fair, that's like every single advert on TV, isn't it, for bookies at the minute? But yeah, Dave, though, does like Angel's Breath in the final race on a Friday. Don't tell us that we don't do anything for you, viewers. So there you go. That is from Dave. Andrew, anything from anywhere else, please?
Yeah, 350 Doncaster on Saturday. Our old friend Certain Lad, soft ground, small field. Happy days.
Happy days. Right, like it a lot. Okay, Andrew, I'll go back to you, please. You know what's coming. Your nap for the weekend.
I prepared it this time. It's Certain Lad in the 350 at Doncaster on Saturday.
I will credit you with preparing that and not just the fact that it was the most recent horse you mentioned. Certain Lad then for Andrew. Dave?
I mean, it's difficult because I do fancy a few, but I'm not bullishly confident on anything. So the one I think at the price I've got to stick up with my nap is Sid Hosey's Rock My Way.
Oh, okay, at a nice price as well. My goodness me, if that comes off, then yeah, you will never have to land another nap again. Okay, and I will go less original. I'll go Ancient Wisdom in the Futurity at 2:10 at Doncaster. Right, that is everything from us on this week's show. A big thank you to Dave and to Andrew for all of their hard work as per usual. Big thank you to our sponsors, BetMGM, and also thank you to you for watching. Enjoy the action this weekend. Do bet responsibly, and we'll talk to you again next week.